In 1883, a half-blind philosopher in the Swiss Alps wrote a book that perfectly described you, your addictions, your distractions, your comfortable mediocrity, your spiritual emptiness disguised as success. And he wrote it 140 years before you were born. Friedrich Nietzsche called his book Thus Spoke Zarathustra. He claimed it came to him in 10 days of manic inspiration. He said it was his greatest work, the one that would change humanity forever. And here's the terrifying part. He was right, but not in the way anyone expected. Look, I'm about to show you something that will make your blood run cold. Nietzsche described modern man with such accuracy that it's like he had a time machine. He saw exactly what you would become, the comfortable slavery you'd accept, the small pleasures you'd chase while your potential dies unused, the lies you'd tell yourself to avoid facing your own mediocrity. Your father didn't teach you this because the book describes him too. Your teachers sure as hell didn't, because it exposes the entire education system as a factory for producing exactly the kind of man Nietzsche warned against. And most men will never read this book because facing what's in it requires confronting the uncomfortable truth about their own lives. But here's what will blow your mind. Nietzsche didn't just predict what you'd become. He showed you the way out, the path from comfortable slave to dangerous creator, from the last man to the Übermensch. So why am I telling you this? Because if you recognize yourself in Nietzsche's prophecy, you still have time to choose differently. You still have the chance to become something more than what he predicted, but only if you're brave enough to see what he saw, the prophet in the mountains. Here's the first truth your father never told you. Thus Spoke Zarathustra isn't really a philosophy book. It's a prophecy, disguised as a story. Nietzsche was living in Sils Maria, Switzerland, in the summer of 1881, isolated, in chronic pain, rejected by the academic world. And during a walk near a massive rock formation, something happened that changed philosophy forever. He said, an idea struck him with such force that he wept. The concept of eternal recurrence. The idea that you might have to live your exact life infinite times. And from that moment, the entire book of Zarathustra flooded into his mind. Over the next 2 years, he wrote it in bursts of intense creativity. Part 1. In just 10 days, the whole thing reading like it was channeled from somewhere beyond himself. But here's what makes it different from every other philosophy book. It's not written as arguments. It's written as a story. A prophet named Zarathustra comes down from the mountains after 10 years of solitude to teach humanity how to overcome itself. And the very first people he meets, they reject him. They laugh at him. They prefer their comfortable lives to his dangerous truths. Sound familiar? The Last Man, Nietzsche's most terrifying prophecy. In the opening sections of Zarathustra, Nietzsche introduces the concept that would define modern civilization, the last man. And when I describe him to you, you're going to feel uncomfortable because you're going to recognize him. Maybe in your friends, maybe in your family, maybe in the mirror. Here's how Nietzsche described the last man. We have invented happiness, say the last men, and they blink. Think about that line. They blink, like they're half asleep. Like they're not fully conscious, like they're scrolling through life without ever really waking up. The last man is the end point of human evolution, not upward toward greatness, but downward toward comfortable mediocrity. He's the man who works a job he tolerates for a paycheck he spends on distractions, avoids all suffering, all challenge, all growth, seeks pleasure but never joy, wants comfort above all else, lives for the weekend, the vacation, the retirement, has opinions about everything but convictions about nothing, follows trends without thinking, criticizes greatness instead of pursuing it, makes himself small so others feel comfortable, believes he's happy because he's never been truly alive. Translation: the last man is spiritually dead but physically comfortable, and he thinks that's success. Now here's the brutal part. When Zarathustra describes the last man to the crowd, expecting them to be horrified, they respond, "Give us this last man, O Zarathustra. Make us into these last men." They want it. They choose mediocrity consciously. They prefer comfortable slavery to dangerous freedom. And that's exactly what happened to modern civilization. How Nietzsche predicted your life. Let me show you how specifically Zarathustra predicted modern man. This is going to hurt. No shepherd and one herd. Everyone wants the same. Everyone is the same. Whoever feels different goes voluntarily into a madhouse. Social media, cancel culture, the pressure to conform, the fear of standing out, the requirement to think like everyone else or be labeled crazy. Nietzsche saw it coming 140 years ago. A little poison now and then, that makes for pleasant dreams. And much poison at the end for a pleasant death. Scroll through Instagram for dopamine hits. Binge Netflix to avoid thinking. Drink to numb the existential dread. Medicate away the depression instead of addressing what causes it. Then, die having never really lived. He predicted your addictions before your great-grandparents were born. One still works, for work is a form of entertainment, but one is careful lest the entertainment be too harrowing. Jobs that don't challenge you. Work that keeps you busy but doesn't require growth. Careers that are comfortable enough to stay in but meaningless enough to resent. Entertainment disguised as productivity. He saw exactly how you'd waste your potential. One has one's little pleasure for the day and one's little pleasure for the night, but one has a regard for health. Morning coffee and scrolling, evening TV and junk food. Maybe hit the gym to feel productive. Track your health metrics while ignoring your spiritual emptiness. Optimize everything, except what matters. He knew you'd mistake physical health for actual well-being. We have invented happiness, say the last men, and they blink. That word keeps coming back. Blink, like you're not fully conscious, like you're sleepwalking through a life you never really chose. You say you're happy. You post about gratitude. You follow all the self-care advice. But there's something missing, some essential aliveness that you can't quite name. Nietzsche named it 140 years ago. You're the last man, and you've convinced yourself that comfortable mediocrity is happiness. The Übermensch, what you could become. But Zarathustra doesn't just describe what you are. He describes what you could become. Enter the Übermensch, often translated as Superman or overman, but really meaning the human who has overcome humanity's current limitations. This isn't about being better than others. It's about being better than your current self. Nietzsche writes through Zarathustra, "Man is something that shall be overcome. What have you done to overcome him?" Translation: You're not the final version of what a human can be. You're a bridge, a transition, something between the animal you evolved from and the conscious creator you could become. But most people never cross that bridge. They stay comfortable. They stay small. They become the last man and call it success. The Übermensch is different. He doesn't wait for meaning to be given. He creates it. He doesn't follow inherited values. He forges his own. He doesn't avoid suffering. He transforms it into strength. He doesn't seek comfort. He seeks growth. He doesn't blame circumstances. He takes responsibility. He doesn't fit into society's mold. He creates his own. Most importantly, the Übermensch doesn't happen by accident. He's a conscious choice, a daily practice of overcoming your own limitations. You decide, every single day, last man or Übermensch, comfortable slave or dangerous creator, the three metamorphoses, your path to transformation. Here's where Zarathustra gets practical. Nietzsche doesn't just tell you what to become, he shows you how. In one of the most famous sections, he describes three transformations of the spirit. First, the camel. The spirit becomes a camel, a beast of burden that kneels down and says, "Load me up, give me all the heaviest burdens." This is you in your 20s, maybe early 30s, taking on responsibilities, following the script, doing what you're supposed to do: school, career, relationships, obligations. You carry what society loads onto you without questioning whether you want to carry it. Most people stay camels their entire lives. They keep taking on burdens without ever asking why. But some people transform. Second, the lion. The camel goes into the desert and becomes a lion. The lion says, "I will," instead of "I should." He fights the dragon of "thou shalt," all the inherited obligations and expectations. This is your first rebellion, when you stop doing what you're supposed to do and start questioning everything. When you reject inherited values and fight for your freedom. But here's the warning: the lion can destroy. The lion can say no to everything, but the lion cannot create. He can fight the old gods but cannot build new ones. Many people get stuck as lions. Angry rebels who know what they're against but not what they're for. Cynics who tear down but never build up. That's why there's a third transformation. Third, the child. The lion becomes a child, and the child is innocence and forgetting. A new beginning, the ability to create. The child doesn't rebel against values. He creates new ones. He doesn't fight inherited meaning. He generates fresh meaning. He plays. He experiments. He builds new worlds. This is the Übermensch, someone who has destroyed the old, fought for freedom, and then used that freedom to create something valuable. Most men never reach the child stage. They stay camels carrying burdens, or they become lions destroying without creating. The question is, which one are you? The Eternal Recurrence, the ultimate test. In Zarathustra, Nietzsche introduces his most challenging concept. What if you had to live your exact life again? Every moment, every choice, infinite times. This isn't about religion or metaphysics. It's a test, a way to evaluate whether your life is worth living. The last man would be horrified by eternal recurrence. The thought of repeating his comfortable, mediocre, distracted life forever would be hell, because deep down, he knows he's not really living. The Übermensch would embrace it, not because his life is perfect or easy, but because he's living consciously. Every struggle serves his growth. Every difficulty is chosen. Every moment is engaged. Here's how to use this test right now. Look at yesterday, hour by hour. If you had to repeat yesterday infinite times, would you be proud or would you be horrified? Look at your relationships. If you had to experience this exact dynamic with your partner, your friends, your family forever, would you choose it? Look at your work. If you had to do this exact job infinite times, would it feel like heaven or hell? If the answer is hell, you're living like the last man. You're building a life you wouldn't choose to repeat once, let alone eternally. The poison of pity. Here's something Zarathustra teaches that will make people uncomfortable. Not all compassion is good. Nietzsche distinguishes between two types of compassion. The compassion of the weak. I pity you because I see myself in your weakness. Your suffering makes me feel better about my own mediocrity. I want to keep you weak because it validates my own weakness. This is most modern compassion. It's not about helping people rise. It's about making everyone comfortable staying low. The compassion of the strong. I see your potential. I care about you enough to challenge you. I won't enable your weakness because I want you to discover your strength. Think about it. The friend who tells you you're perfect just the way you are when you're wasting your potential. That's weak compassion. That's keeping you comfortable in your mediocrity. The friend who says, you're better than this, you're capable of more. Stop making excuses. That's strong compassion. That's caring about your growth more than your comfort. Zarathustra's warning. Beware of those who pity you. They're often trying to keep you at their level rather than help you rise above it. The death of God and what it means. In Zarathustra, Nietzsche famously declares, "God is dead." But this isn't atheist celebration. It's a warning about what happens when the old sources of meaning collapse. Here's what he actually means. For thousands of years, humans got their meaning, values, and purpose from external sources. God, tradition, inherited beliefs. You didn't have to create meaning. It was given to you. But modernity destroyed those certainties. Science, reason, skepticism. They killed the old gods. And we haven't built anything stable to replace them. So, what do modern people do? They fill the void with distractions, entertainment, consumption, busyness, anything to avoid confronting the silence where meaning used to live. They become last men, comfortable, distracted, spiritually empty. Zarathustra's solution: don't wait for meaning to be given. Create it yourself. Don't worship dead gods. Become a creator of values. But here's the hard part. Most people aren't strong enough for that responsibility. They'd rather have comfortable slavery than dangerous freedom. Which one are you? Why modern men reject Zarathustra's message? Your father probably never told you this, but there's a reason why Zarathustra's message is so rejected today. Because it's not democratic. Nietzsche doesn't say, everyone can become the Übermensch. He says, most people won't. Most will choose to be last men. Most will prefer comfort to growth. Because it's not egalitarian. Nietzsche believes in hierarchy based on excellence. Some people create. Some people follow. Some people rise. Some people stay comfortable. Because it's not safe. The path to the Übermensch involves risk, suffering, failure, isolation. It requires leaving the herd. Most people would rather stay safe. Because it's not nice. Zarathustra challenges everyone. He doesn't validate your choices. He doesn't make you feel good about mediocrity. He demands more. Modern culture wants you to believe everyone is special just the way they are. All choices are equally valid. Comfort is the highest good. Challenging someone is cruel. Making people uncomfortable is wrong. Zarathustra says the opposite. Most people are choosing mediocrity. Some paths lead to greatness, others to waste. Growth requires discomfort. Real love means challenging people to rise. Comfort is often the enemy of growth. That's why this book is rejected. Because accepting its message means accepting that you might be the last man. And that's too uncomfortable for most people to face. The practical path, becoming who you are. So, how do you actually move from last man to Übermensch? Zarathustra gives specific guidance. 1. Learn solitude. You must be ready to burn yourself in your own flame. How could you rise anew if you have not first become ashes? Translation. You need time alone, away from social media, away from people-pleasing, away from the herd. Time to figure out who you actually are versus who you've been programmed to be. Most men are terrified of being alone with themselves. They need constant noise, constant distraction, constant validation. The Übermensch embraces solitude, uses it to burn away the false self and discover the real one. 2. Create your own values. Don't just question inherited values. Build better ones, based on what serves your highest potential and contributes to something greater. Most people never do this. They just adopt whatever values are popular, then wonder why nothing feels meaningful. 3. Embrace difficulty. What does not kill me makes me stronger. The last man avoids all suffering. The Übermensch seeks out meaningful challenges that force growth. Not suffering for suffering's sake, but choosing difficult paths that make you better. 4. Dance. This might be the most misunderstood part of Zarathustra. Nietzsche constantly talks about dancing, lightness, joy. The Übermensch isn't grim and serious. He's playful. He approaches life with the creativity and joy of a child. Most ambitious men are miserable. They're grinding toward goals but hating every moment. That's not the Übermensch. That's just another form of slavery. 5. Say yes to life. Despite the suffering, despite the meaninglessness, despite the difficulty, choose to affirm your existence anyway. Not passive acceptance, active choice, conscious embrace of even the hard parts. The warning Zarathustra gave that nobody heard. Here's the most chilling part of the book. At the beginning, Zarathustra comes down from his mountain to teach humanity how to overcome itself. He describes the last man. He describes the Übermensch. He offers a path from one to the other. And the people reject him. They laugh at his teaching. They prefer their comfortable lives. They choose to become last men. Zarathustra realizes, they do not understand me. I am not the mouth for these ears. Translation: most people don't want to hear uncomfortable truths. They want validation for their choices. They want permission to stay comfortable. That was Nietzsche's prophecy, that humanity would be offered a path to greatness and would choose comfortable mediocrity instead. And he was right. Look around. We have more comfort, more entertainment, more distraction than any generation in history. And we're more anxious, more depressed, more spiritually empty than ever. We chose to become last men, exactly as he predicted. Your reality check. So here's your reality check. Which prophecy are you fulfilling? Are you the last man that Nietzsche predicted? Comfortable, distracted, spiritually empty, claiming to be happy while something essential dies inside you? Do you work a job you tolerate for money you spend on distractions? Do you avoid all meaningful challenge and call it self-care? Do you scroll through other people's lives instead of building your own? Do you have opinions about everything but convictions about nothing? Do you make yourself small so others feel comfortable? Do you criticize greatness instead of pursuing it? If you recognized yourself in those questions, you're living exactly the life Nietzsche warned against 140 years ago. But here's the beautiful part. You can still choose differently. That's the whole point of Zarathustra. It's not a prediction of what must happen. It's a warning about what will happen if you don't choose consciously. #the choice Zarathustra offers you. The book ends with Zarathustra going back to his mountain. His work isn't done. His message isn't fully accepted, but he's not discouraged. Because he knows the message is for those who have ears to hear, for those brave enough to leave comfort behind, for those willing to become something more than what society expects. You have a choice right now. You can close this video and go back to scrolling, back to comfortable distraction, back to living the life Nietzsche predicted, back to being the last man who blinks and says, "I've invented happiness." Or you can let this be the moment everything changes, the moment you decide to become dangerous, to leave the herd, to stop making yourself small, to start building a life worth living, infinitely. Here's what Zarathustra would tell you. You have your way, I have my way. As for the right way, the correct way, and the only way, it does not exist. There's no formula, no step-by-step plan, no guru who can do it for you. There's just the daily choice: camel, lion, or child, last man or Übermensch, comfortable slave or dangerous creator. The question isn't whether Nietzsche predicted you accurately. The question is, are you going to prove him right or prove him wrong? Will you stay the last man, comfortable and spiritually dead? Or will you become the Übermensch, alive and dangerous and creating meaning from nothing? Because here's the secret Zarathustra reveals. You were always capable of greatness. You just chose comfort instead. But choice isn't a one-time thing. It's daily, hourly. Every moment you're choosing what to become. And the beautiful, terrifying truth is, you can start choosing differently, right now. The prophet came down from the mountain 140 years ago with a message. Most people rejected it then. Most people reject it now. But you're not most people, are you? If this video made you see yourself in a way you've never seen before, if you recognized the last man in the mirror and felt the call to become something more, subscribe right now, because this is just the beginning. The world is full of last men pretending to be happy. It needs more people brave enough to become Übermensch, people who create instead of consume, who build instead of blend in, who choose dangerous growth over comfortable stagnation. Nietzsche wrote Zarathustra for you. 140 years before you were born, he saw exactly what you'd become, and he showed you the way out. The question is, are you brave enough to take it? The choice, as always, is yours.